Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Tax Resolution Help Center. My name is May. I will be hosting today's session and introducing today's speaker. I will also be coordinating the Q&A chat session at the end of this session. I want to congratulate all of you for taking steps to deal with your taxes. Taxes from all sources, including income tax, payroll tax, property tax, excise tax, and sales tax represent a 35% to 60% reduction in your personal savings and wealth. As you probably know, those with 1% of the wealth in this country have experts to help them pay a small percent of tax. Our goal is to help you reduce how much you pay in tax by educating and informing you on ways to reduce past, present, and future tax expenses. We think you are entitled to live a happier, healthier life by keeping more of what you earn and getting the taxman off your back. Our goal is to provide you good information with the opportunity to ask questions that are important to you. The presentation itself will last about 20 minutes, plus 20 to 30 minutes for you to ask questions by chat. I will select the questions and present them to today's expert. If you wish, you can include your first name and your state. That would be great. Other than that information, your identity is not mentioned. The information you are receiving in this session is not specific tax advice. If you want specific tax advice for your situation, you are free to contact today's expert or any of our tax experts at Tax Resolution Help Center. As you know, these group sessions are included in your do it yourself membership fee of $20 per month. If you are not yet a member, please sign up today. We need your financial support. And to better understand what might be on your mind during the session, I might include some polling questions to ask you. I will then finish with a 5-minute wrap up. Also, a survey will be sent looking for your feedback. And finally, this session will be recorded. The topic for today's session is dealing with IRS letters, notices, interest, and penalties. The tax expert for today's session is Callie Coughlin. Kelly is a CPA, the Chief Executive of Everyday CPA, and founder of Tax Resolution Help Center. Kelly has been a CPA for over 20 years and has helped countless individuals and businesses remove, reduce, and resolve past, present, and future taxes so they can live a happier, healthier life. Kelly says he loves seeing the relief his clients experience when they get the IRS off their backs. With that said, introducing Kelly Coughlin.
Hello, May. Thank you for the introduction. It's a beautiful Monday morning here, and I want to get right to it. It's tax time, so I've got a lot of tax returns to get prepared. So I want to get to this, but make sure give attention to these notices that continue to come out. IRS doesn't stop during tax season; they keep sending them out. So let's just deal with them. I'm going to cover how you deal with the tax letter, 5 easy tips, and then we're going to talk about a letter. I always say this: IRS letters are like an overheating car, clogged toilet, tax notice. None of these three things get better with time if left unattended. So my common message in every one of these sessions is to make sure and deal with the tax letter or notice. And the 5 tips to resolve these and dealing with it are, first of all, identify that it's you. Make sure they send it to the right person, and make sure you're responding to the right notice that came to you. Many times that isn't correct. Tax year. Make sure you recognize what tax year they're talking about. They can go back years, many years, and ask for, it could be audit, it could be typically the notices are sent out for within the last couple of years of the tax return. So but pay attention to what year they're talking about. If it's a collection letter, they go back 10, they can go back forever until the statute expires where they can't collect it. Then you look at the notice type. This is example, here's a CP 2000. Those are the 3 things to focus on. And then, excuse me, then the next two are, what's the purpose of the letter? What are they asking for? Why is the IRS sending me this? And then you make your steps on resolution. I've focused on CP 2000, which is a unreported, typically an unreported income, where there's a mismatch in income. IRS thinks you owe X and you thought you reported Y, so there's a mismatch. Again, these typically aren't audit letters. If it's an audit, it'll say that. It'll say examination. But it's just because you get a letter from the IRS doesn't mean you're being audited. But today I'm going to focus on letters mainly 6419, which is a child tax credit. If you get that, a lot of people don't. You claim these child tax credits, and there just might be something in the tax filing that didn't make sense, didn't match up to what the IRS was expecting. So they'll send out a 6419 letter asking for clarification on that. And typically what they will have done is shorted your refund. Now, they're at a point now where if there's any inconsistent information, the tax return that was filed, especially the electronic one, that doesn't agree with what they think should have been filed, that they will reject the tax return. More frequently, the IRS is trying to get their systems to match expected data with that was filed on behalf of another party other than you. Could be a bank, it could be another taxpayer, it could be an insurance company for health insurance, it could be an employer for wages. They're increasingly trying to get it established that if they don't get what they expect from you, to minimize the errors, the unintentional errors, and many of these are unintentional, then there'll be a mismatch, and so they'll send a letter. So they're trying to get to the point where letters mismatches, expected data versus submitted data submitted by you, where there's a mismatch there. They're increasingly trying to identify that on the front end of the tax filing and then reject it. You'll see more and more tax returns getting rejected. There's no big deal if the tax return gets rejected when it's filed. It just means there's a mismatch. Doesn't mean you're in trouble, nothing like that. It's they're just trying to decrease the workload downstream if erroneous data was submitted, and then they have to go through this process where they send you a letter, you have to respond, they have to accept or reject this. That process is a terrible waste of time. Frequently, it's simply because someone misreported information. It could have been $100 interest payment. In the meantime, they've sent a letter out. You have to respond to it, and you're uptight over it. That sort of thing. So that would be one benefit of this off topic a little bit of this funding that the IRS is getting. If people talk about the 80,000 IRS agents, I hope they would take a big portion of that money, and I think they will be. They're expected to do that, is to put it into systems and technology. So number one, they'd answer the phone. That would be helpful, right? And then two, they would identify the mismatches here to prevent all these these letters being sent. And I wouldn't have to have this session every week. There it is. There's my political statement for the day. So identify who it is, the tax year, the notice type, purpose, and then what your steps are for resolution. So on the 6419, the resolution is they're typically looking for some sort of validation that the child tax credit that you claimed, that you're entitled to that. So put together, medical cards, school, anything that would have your child's address on there. Kids don't get a lot of letters these days, but anything that kind of shows that your child is in your household and being supported by you. Just put it in there, and more more is better. Although I want to caution you, if you're, let's just say, you wanted to put something related to their education. Okay, so a one-page document on their education, that they're in your school, and school shows that there's your address, there's little Nancy's name in there with your address. Great. You don't need to attach, for instance, the entire college handbook or a grade school handbook, right? You don't need to do that. You don't need to attach the kids' grades, right? Or a testimony of them, all the teachers saying that they're there. One page for each identifying piece of evidence. No more than that, just one page. If you can't get it on one page for each piece of evidence, then you got the wrong piece of evidence. That should be it. So if you come up with two or three things that support that, bingo, you're there. Turn it in. I always tell people, I think I have it on this, no, it's on a session, another more advanced session. These are all the letters. I recommend that people send, if there's a fax number on the letter, and also send a copy of the letter. Right? That's very important. I also recommend that people, if there's a fax number on there, then use the fax number if you have access to a fax machine. If not, I think it's a good idea to, you can certainly stick it in the mail, and that's adequate. But my preference is to use the U.S. Postal Service. It's called Priority Mail. Costs like $8. It's in one of those cardboard envelope things. You can, for my practice, you can actually buy the stamp, so you don't have to go wait in line at the post office, because that would be a bad experience. I'd rather pay the tax sometimes that, or forego the credit than wait in line at the post office. But you can typically go to the post office and get a letter. It's called priority mail. It's the cheaper of it's not express mail. It doesn't have to be there in a day, overnight, that kind of thing. It's just a priority mail where you get a tracking number, and you take a picture. They'll give you a receipt right there. Just take a picture of it, keep it in your phone, and then you can go on to the USPS.com website, or whatever that is, website, and check to verify that it did get received. It's a big, deep, dark hole sometimes at the IRS, but at least you have evidence of that. That's support. It's not required. You don't want to spend the $8 or whatever the cost is. It's under $10, at least as of this session. Then just send it regular mail. No big deal. Take a picture of